Hi, it's Nicole. We start our video on Love's Labour's Lost with the opening sentence of an essay by William Hazlitt. William Hazlitt is one of the best English essayists, up there with Dr. Samuel Johnson. He wrote a book of criticism of Shakespeare's plays with an essay on each play. This is how he started the one on Love's Labour's Lost. If we were to part with any of the author's comedies, it should be this. Ouch! He clearly didn't think very highly of it. Love's Labour's Lost is one of Shakespeare's early comedies. The story of Love's Labour's Lost is less well known, so I will spend a bit more time introducing the plotline. When you summarize Shakespeare's plays, there's always the danger of the story sounding absurd and overdramatic. That was how I felt when I first read Lamb's The Tales from Shakespeare, which is essentially a collection of prose retellings of a selection of Shakespeare's comedies and tragedies. By the way, Mary and Charles Lamb, who were contemporaries of Hazlitt, didn't include Love's Labour's Lost in their retelling. Maybe they didn't like it either. Reading tales from Shakespeare didn't help me get into Shakespeare. I think the wonder of Shakespeare is in the drama and the language. But I will do my best to make Love's Labour's Lost sound interesting today. That's the goal of my video. You can judge at the end. Actually, how about letting me know if, by the end, I've convinced you to give it a go? The play opens by the King of Navarre. Navarre is a real place in northern Spain. I just assumed Shakespeare made it up, but no, there was a medieval kingdom there. Let fame, that all hunt after in their lives, live registered upon our brazen tombs, and then grace us in the disgrace of death, when, spite of cormorant, meaning greedy, devouring time, the endeavour of this present breath may buy that honour which shall bait his sigh's keen edge, and make us heirs of all eternity. What do you think about those opening lines? I sometimes read Shakespeare and think, what the heck? And I'd close my book and go do something else. Today is clearly not the day. I have no idea what he sang about. But on good days, I read and I understand immediately, like there's magic in the room. I say magic because sometimes that magic goes away, and putting my nose against the same passage next day, I'll be lost again. So what about these opening lines? Let's do a bit of detective work. If you take all the descriptive clauses out, the meaning becomes plain. It's just, let fame live on our tombs and grace us when we are dead. And when we are dead, the endeavour of this present breath may give us honour and make us heirs of all eternity. Basically, the King of Navarre wants honour and fame to immortalize him. And the next question I naturally ask myself is, what is the endeavour he's talking about? Something that will defy time and death, which normally erase all things. Whatever this thing is, his goal is to have fame, long-lasting fame, beyond his life and death. The king continues explaining his plan. Therefore, brave conquerors, for so you are, that war against your own affections, meaning passions, and the huge army of the world's desires, our late edict shall strongly stand in force. Navarre shall be the wonder of the world. Our court shall be a little academe, still and contemplative in living art. The way to get fame that lasts forever, he decides, is to war against passions and desires. And how do you do that? To do quiet study. So he proclaims these edicts in his court and pressurizes his three friends into a pact. He asks them to stay in his court and join him to study for 3 years. They are not only going to study, they are also going scant on food, sleep, and women. If this is the first time you hear this, you might be thinking, fair, whatever. But the more I read it, the stranger it seems. He calls his friends conquerors. And here comes the sun. He calls his friends conquerors. When you think of conquerors, they have huge appetites and desires for power, lands, wealth, good food, and women. But this king asks his brave conquerors to war against those things, against passions and desires, essentially to be conquerors of themselves, specifically conquerors of their flesh, and to shut up and study in order to increase knowledge and improve their mind. So this play is not going to be about getting fame by fighting battles or political maneuvers. This is going to be something of a light comedy romance that happens on a university campus. Did you notice the first 7 lines we read are crammed with the ideas of life, death, and time? It's intriguing why a young king in the prime of life would think of tombs, devouring time, and fame beyond his death. I don't know where the king got this bright idea from, but he's genuinely enthusiastic about it. His 3 friends are less keen. In the Globe production, they agree with their lips, but they all pull faces and cry silent tears as they sign their joyful young life away. The 3 friends are called Baron, Dumaine, and Longueville. Along with the king, I imagine them as 4 first-year university students, just about old enough to be called young men rather than boys. The king and Baron are at the center of the group. Dumaine and Longueville are the classic sidekicks. I imagine 4 of them would walk around the campus talking and laughing loudly and self-consciously, taking up the whole width of the pavement, harmlessly annoying. And quite cute. Marjorie Garber describes them as puppy-like. I think that's spot on. Baron is the sharp one and doesn't think this edict a good idea from the start. He reads out 2 items on the paper they have to sign. One of them says that no woman shall come within a mile of my court on pain of losing her tongue. The other one says, if any man be seen to talk with a woman within the term of 3 years, he shall endure such public shame as the rest of the court can possibly devise. I wonder what kind of public shame they have in mind. I once saw a uni student running around the street of a neighborhood with a high concentration of student population at night, stark naked. Maybe that's the kind of public shame you have to endure if you are seen with talking with a woman. Then we are introduced to more characters of the play. These guys form the low plot of the play, in contrast to the king and his friends and the princess and her women, we'll see in a bit, which form the high plot of the play. This structure reminds me of A Midsummer Night's Dream, where the Duke Theseus and his new bride, Hippolyta, the fairy king and queen, and the 2 pairs of lovers form the high plot, and the rude mechanicals form the low plot. A constable called Dull brings in a guilty fool called Costard, along with a letter written by a Spanish knight called Amado. In the letter, Amado accuses Costard for breaking the king's edict. He caught Costard with a maid. So here immediately is a case breaking both articles we just heard. A woman is in the court and Costard is seen talking with her. Is Jaquenetta going to lose her tongue? And what public shame is the court going to devise for Costard? The king hears the case and gives some random arbitrary sentences which are disappointingly boring, and nothing is mentioned about Jaquenetta at all. So Costard suffers a bit for his love because of Amado, but the next thing we know, this same Amado confesses he's in love with Jaquenetta too. Amado and Costard are a pair that we need to pay attention to together. They are not only linked up by one woman, they are also linked up by the king and his 4 friends. Costard the swain, and he, referring to Amado, shall be our sport, and so to study 3 years is but short. The 4 guys think themselves superior and that Costard and Amado stupid and entertaining. They do not see that on the subject of wooing their mistresses, Custard and Amado are a mirror unto themselves. But of course they don't, they are not supposed to. In terms of being in love with Jaconetta, Custard and Amado are two very different types of lovers. Their first appearances say it all. As we just said, the constable brings in Custard guilty of breaking the king's edict. Custard shows no remorse, but cheerily pipes up that, "Sir, the contempts thereof are as touching me." Custard talks like Dogberry in Much Ado About Nothing. He misuses words. When he says contempts, he means the contents of the letter. Later, when he is giving a remuneration of 3 farthings, he comes to the conclusion that remuneration is the Latin word for 3 farthings. So Custard hasn't read many books, isn't much educated, but he's straightforward. When he fancies a girl, he takes her to a park, and who knows what they do there. In the Globe production, when they come on stage, the constable can't keep them apart from kissing each other from the beginning till the end. While Amado is first introduced to the audience in the form of a letter, it's clear he's educated and knows his big words well. He writes line after line just to give the simple fact that he caught Custard. With Jaconetta, he's all talk and no action. When Amado and Jaconetta are on stage together for the first time, "I do betray myself with blushing. Maid, man, I will visit thee at the lodge. That's hereby. I know where it is situate. Lord, how wise you are. I will tell thee wonders." With that face? Amado always has a sad and melancholy face. "I love thee. So I heard you say. And so, farewell." I love you, farewell. And that's it. But he will write rims and rims of sweet love poems to you. "Assist me, some extemporal god of rhyme, for I am sure I shall turn sonnet. Devise wit, write pen, for I am for whole volumes in folio." He'll probably play guitar and sing under your window too. If I were Jaconetta, who would I choose? Who would you choose? Amado has a very comical way of talking, which reminds me of Bella Baxter from Poor Things. I talked about it in a video recently. We know Bella reads Shakespeare because she writes letters in blank verse. And one day she says, "I shall stop writing like Shakespeare, it slows me down." This is a great example of Bella's style of talking at one stage of her language development. "I am taking candle for a walk, saunter, stroll, dawdle, trot, canter, short, gallop, and circumambulation. Poor old god, without Bella you will grow glum, glummer, glummest, until last when you think I am forever lost, crash, bang, wallop, out I pop from behind that holly bush." She lists all the synonyms of walk and all 3 forms of glum. I think the author is copying Shakespeare's Amado in Love's Labour's Lost. Amado refers to the letter in the king's hand, which here thou viewest, beholdest, surveyest, or seest. So that's 3 synonyms for see. And after meeting Jaconetta, he says on an empty stage to himself, therefore, the audience, "I do affect the very ground which is base, where her shoe, which is baser, guided by her foot, which is basest, does tread." Base, baser, basest is hilarious. I had to guess the mind of Bella's author, Alistair Gray, a lot in the Poor Things video. I have to do the same again. Is Bella's speech inspired by Amado? So our high-plot, puppy-like man refused to have anything to do with women, while our low-plot cast falls in love profusely, furiously, what other words? As soon as the 4 of them swear to leave off women, we know that 4 women will appear to make them fail. And here they come. The French princess and her gentlewomen appear in one go in Act 2. Just like A Midsummer Night's Dream, Love's Labour's Lost high plot has 4 pairs of lovers too. The princess is sent by her sick father on political business to speak to the king of Navarre. But bad luck, the king is possessed by the idea of harsh treatment and a joyless life, and controlled by his own edicts at this point. Though clearly dazzled by these beautiful women, he wouldn't break his words or let them in his house. He rather means to lodge you in the field, like one that comes here to besiege his court. But that doesn't stop the 4 men and the 4 women pairing up immediately. Obviously we know, but they don't. The 4 men think they are hiding their passion and desire from each other and from the world. That's basically what all Act 2 is about. Love's Labour's Lost has very short acts. Both productions I watched put the interval after the end of Act 4, just to give you an idea of how short the first 4 acts are. One thing to note from Act 2 is that the first exchange between Baron and Rosaline sounds exactly like the bickering couple Benedict and Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing, which was written about 4 years after Love's Labour's Lost. Did I not dance with you in Brabant once? Did I not dance with you in Brabant once? I know you did. How needless was it then to ask the question? You must not be so quick. 'Tis long of you that spur me with such questions. Your wit's too hot, it speeds too fast. 'Twill tire, not till you leave the rider in the mire. In Act 3, Amado asks Costard to deliver a letter to his love. Baron also asks Costard to deliver a letter to his love. As soon as you see how Costard puts them in his pockets, you know what's coming up. The letters get mixed up. The letters are obviously love letters and sonnets. Amado says he's going to turn sonnet because of Giaconetta. All 4 men follow suit and turn sonnets. We get to hear 4 of love letters in Love's Labour's Lost, and the gist all sounds pretty similar to me. Even Amado's weird one sounds remarkably normal at the beginning and could well have come from Baron. That leads to the pivotal point of the play. You know, in Much Ado, the audience eagerly wait to see how the eavesdropping scenes are carried out. That's the turning point where Benedict and Beatrice realize they are in love. Here's an equivalent scene in Love's Labour's Lost. The 4 men read out their love poems one by one, thinking they are alone, only to discover that wars have ears and they have all been found out. I watched the brand new RSC production last month, and this was one of my favorite scenes in this production. Especially when, after chasing around like mad, the boys piled on top of each other with Baron, played by Luke Thompson of Bridgerton fame, like a helpless upside-down turtle, yelling, "Guilty, my lord, guilty, I confess, I confess." It made me laugh and smile. Boys, you're growing up. They finally admit they are all in love, and Baron valiantly reasons that their oaths were stupid. This is way better. How about you then, affection's man-at-arms? Consider what you first did swear on to fast, to study, and to see no woman. Flat treason against the kingly state of youth. Say, can you fast? Your stomachs are too young, and abstinence engenders maladies. Oh, we have made a vow to study laws, and in that vow we have forsworn our books. For when would you, my liege, or you, in leaden contemplation have found out such fiery numbers as the prompting eyes of beauty's tutors have enriched you with? They, as in the eyes, are the books, the arts, the academes that show, contain, and nourish all the world. The best books are the lover's eyes. Love teaches you way more than books do. Shakespeare carries his fascination with lovers' eyes into A Midsummer Night's Dream, which I talked about in a previous video, all about that play. Then fools you were these women to forswear, or keeping what is sworn, you will prove fools. Let us once lose our oath to find ourselves, or else we lose ourselves to keep our oath. What does love teach? Ourselves. In Act 1, when they talked about study, they probably had history in mind, ancient classics or philosophy or whatever. But by Act 4, they realized their attempt to study at the expense of love is keeping them away from a certain truth, a more important kind of truth. If they keep their oath, they run the risk of losing themselves. It's one of Shakespeare's favorite topics of seeking self-knowledge and self-identity. There's only one act to go, but the boys discover that on the front of love and self-knowledge, they have much to learn before they can receive the hands of their ladies. But for now, the boys stand side by side, bursting with excitement, clapping each other's shoulders. Saint Cupid, then, and soldiers, to the field. Advance your standards, and upon them, lords, pell-mell down with them. They have turned from Amado's melancholy sonnets to Costa's straightforward actions. Finally, as the king says in Act 1, brave conquerors. There's much hilarity as they advance and make harmless fools of themselves in Act 5. There's also a play within a play that feels exactly the same as the one in A Midsummer Night's Dream. Conventionally, Shakespeare's comedies end in marriages, but this one doesn't quite do that, to my surprise, and I will let you find out yourself. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next one.